St. Augustine provided a way to justify Christian participation in at least some violence, killing, and war by proposing what was for centuries called the just war theory, or the just war tradition. It has become a second tradition alongside the Church's older nonviolent pacifist tradition. In so doing, Augustine made it at least theoretically possible for a Christian to take a position somewhere in between militarism on the one hand and absolute pacifism on the other. It is important to note that, like all other early Christian leaders, St. Augustine taught that a Christian may not use violence to defend her or himself. A Christian must follow the example of Jesus, avoid violence, and die if necessary. He taught that violence is only legitimate if it is employed by the state and in defense of the innocent. St. Augustine's just war theory is the only attempt ever to justify the participation of Christians in violence, killing, and war. The theory recognizes that governments not only have a right, but a duty to protect their citizens. But the theory also recognizes that this right is not absolute. There are limits to what governments can do to protect citizens. Anything goes is out of the question. Before we go any further, a quick word about terminology. The Catechism of the Catholic Church now refers to the just war theory as the just defense theory. In 2003, just prior to the invasion of Iraq and the overthrow of Saddam Hussein, Jim Nicholson, the U.S. ambassador to the Vatican, invited American theologian Michael Novak to meet with Vatican officials in Rome. Together they tried to convince church leaders that a preemptive strike against an enemy, like the one the Bush administration was considering against Iraq, should be considered moral and consistent with the just war theory. They called it preventative war. Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, then prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, now Pope Benedict XVI, dismissed the notion. Preventative war, he said, does not appear in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Archbishop Renato Martino, president of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace, went further. He drew a comparison between the just war theory and Catholic teaching on the death penalty. He described how the section of the Catechism of the Catholic Church that deals with the death penalty had recently been revised. The Church taught that society may resort to the death penalty if that is the only means it has to protect its members. The Catechism was revised to say that that situation almost never exists. In fact, society has the capacity to protect itself from dangerous criminals without resort to the death penalty. Archbishop Martino noted, modern society has the means to resolve conflicts without war. He was hinting that perhaps like the death penalty, just war would be admitted in principle, but hardly ever in practice. Perhaps it is a coincidence, but shortly after the visit of Nicholson and Novak, the wording of the Catechism of the Catholic Church was changed. It was changed from just war theory to just defense theory, making it clear that preemptive war, or so-called preventative war, is ruled out.